What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Worst Generation TCG. And today we're looking at all of the cards that you should be picking up before the EB01 meta shift and pre-Sakazuki ban, that is. Not post, because post-Sakazuki ban in North America will just be the OPO7 meta. So let's go ahead and hop into this. I made a nice little slideshow, and these are going to be all the cards that are budget, kind of, or whatever cards that you should be picking up, with also the new cards from EBO1 that buff these 5 decks that I have selected out that I think are either the biggest change or will be doing really well in the meta in OPO7 and EBO1. Okay, so here we are preparing for the EBO1 meta competitively. If you're not looking to play competitively, but you still want to have a strong deck, this is probably the place to be either way. But there may be more budget options than these decks, because there's some semi-expensive cards in this deck, or in this list for these decks. So I've selected 5 leaders to showcase today. I have chosen purple, yellow crocodile, red, purple Trafalgar Law from the ST10, ST11 Uta, Green Uta, ST13 Monkey D Luffy, the black yellow Luffy, and OPO5 yellow and L. So we can move on to the first leader specifically to run more deep into those leaders, Trafalgar Law. So we have starter deck 10 Law. And he's an interesting card. If you don't know his card text, I can move my camera. Main step, you can activate once per turn. Dawn -3, bottom deck a 3,000 power or less character on your opponent's field, and then you get to play something from your hand 4 cost or less. And we get 2 new cards that you can throw into this deck. Not as many people are running the super rare chopper from EBO1, but people are running it. It's a blocker, and the Dawn -2 when attacking, you get something -3,000 power. That means that you can pop a 6,000 power character with your leader effect, which is really good, and you'll get a 6k attack in. Then we have Bon Clay, Mr. 2. He on play ramps a Dawn as active, which is very good in this deck, as you get very low on Dawn usually. Then when attacking, although he's 1,000 power, he's really a big character late game. When attacking, he duplicates his power to something that's on your opponent's field. So if you're playing against black, you'll get the effect of having a warrior on field, so you have a 9k attacker. Green, you can have Eustace Kid or a Doflamingo, which swinging in with Bon Clay against Eustace Kid is very strong, because you don't have to put any Dawn on it. It's already an 8,000 power. You say you slap 5 Dawn on it. You're swinging 13 at a 8,000 power Eustace Kid. You can get that out of the way really easily. So both of these cards are strong in the deck. I would say that Bon Clay is a stronger one, and he sees quite a bit of play. Comparatively, the Chopper, not as much play, but I still think it's a good card that you can run, because it does have 1,000 counter, and it's a 3 cost block. So cards to pick up, 3 of which are from OPO6, as this is where a lot of the red purple law support has already come from. Shiraya is an amazing card. It's good in every red deck. It is an amazing blocker and an amazing attacker, because it buffs itself. It does the same thing that the Bon Clay does from EBO1, but it does it with the leader. So if it's a blocker, if someone swings 10k with lead, if you block, technically that Dawn is buffing your opponent's leader for the turn, not just giving it power. It is actually affecting its base power. So blocking with Shiraya, you can just block and 1k counter out of it for it not to die, which is amazing. We have Raise Max, under $1 card. It is a reprint of the promo Gordon, which is on here, which is $33. And you pay 1, and then you can put it. You can bottom deck itself, and then you give -3,000 power to something on your opponent's field. Which, having a Raise Max or 2, or a Raise Max and a Gordon, that's -6k. You can bottom deck a Zoro, for 3 Dawn basically. You can 9 the secret rare Zoro, that is, just to clarify if you didn't understand what I was saying. You can give something -6,000 and bottom deck it with the lead effect and play out a 4 cost body. Which, speaking of, we have a new 4 cost body that we can run in this deck, which is Reiju. A lot of card draw is good in this deck. Seeing more cards is amazing. It's always good. So Reiju, if you didn't know, if you don't play Reiju currently, it reads on play. If you have equal to or less than Dawn than your opponent, you can draw 2 cards, which you will almost always be equal to or less than. It's just an amazing card. The only deck that you could run into an issue is the mirror match, but even then, it's not that hard to out tempo someone in Dawn minus more. Any other Dawn minus effects are great. In this deck, or just not using Kid or any ramp, and utilizing your Dawn minus effect to get off Reiju or something like that. So these are almost must buys. And it's not necessarily that you use Raise Max as a replacement for Gordon, but a lot of people are using them together. So that you're running 8 of basically the same card, which is extremely, extremely strong, especially with this deck. Seeing more consistency is amazing, especially in a best of 1 format that we still are in. And I don't see it going to best of 3 in non-top cut anytime soon, just because of how slow games can be. Shariah, you better get these. I feel like they're going to spike up quite a bit once Red starts to see more play again, because it's such a strong card. Reiju, you better buy these quick. These are also going to spike up there. I think it'll be a $30 card eventually, just because of the amount of card draw that you can get off of it is just so good in any purple deck. So I think once purple comes back as well, once the meta starts to be more healthy, I think that Reiju will also be extremely high, around that $30 range. And I don't see Gordon staying where it is. I also believe that Gordon could reach up to $50 if Red Purple Law does do what it does. It goes up in the ranking just like it did in the Eastern meta. If it does, there is almost no way that Gordon is not close to $50, other than the fact that we now have Raise back. Moving on to the next deck, we have Purple Yellow Crocodile. This is my favorite deck to play out of all of the buffed decks, because it's just so cool to do. Ramping every turn in a weird way that other decks aren't doing, and healing late. It's just so fun. If you don't know what Crocodile does, whenever you Dawn minus on your opponent's turn once per turn, you ramp an active Dawn. So a lot of weird effects, just like this Miss Wednesday blocker. Whenever someone attacks or does something on your board, or on your opponent's turn, when your opponent does something, basically, there's a card that can let you Dawn minus, which means you ramp one with the lead effect, and then you get an effect. Specifically with the Miss Wednesday blocker, you will ramp another active Dawn. So you're restanding a rested Dawn, basically, and then you're ramping one as well, which is extremely strong. Bon Clay, he ramps as well on play. We already know what he does. He's a great late game card. Drop him on 8 Dawn turn, if you're going second, 7 Dawn if you're going second or first, and then when your opponent sees 8 to 10 Dawn, dropping that Gecko Moria, you can swing in the next turn and finish them off with your very large Bon Clay. Miss Wednesday, also not only just a ramp card, she has 1k counter, which is always amazing, and she's a 3-cost 4k blocker, which is amazing. These cards make the deck so much better than it was before, because it was just kind of clunky before. It just, you do some ramping and then you do some healing, and by the time that you start going, really, you die. But now this can actually stay in games longer, and I believe that this deck, out of all of the low tier decks, has the most potential to be an amazing deck. More ramping and maybe more stupid yellow stuff that it can do with Baroque Works will be extremely strong, and I think that this deck can go places. Although there's some costs that can go into that with the ST7 Linlin, which are going for $20 right now a piece. And then we have Miss Sunday over here for only $2. She's a really good card. On play, you'll ramp a Dawn, and then you get to draw a card if you played her through normal, just on play. You'll pay 5, and then ramp a Dawn, you'll have 6, so you'll get to draw a card. I think it's amazing. And she has a trigger, Dawn -2, play the card. so you'll stay even unresting a Dawn. And you'll get to draw a card off of trigger, developing a 5,000 body. Miss Valentine, you need this card for the deck if you don't have 4 of it already. Since it's a rare, there's a good chance that if you bought 1 or 2 boxes, there's a good chance you don't have all 4 that you would need for this deck. It's the Brokeworks Searcher for 2. And it has a Dawn -1 effect off of trigger, which you get to play the card and search for a Brokeworks. And then 8 cost Crocodile. This is the MVP of the deck a lot of the time. You get to Dawn -2 on play and heal. With it's leader locked, but no other requirement other than the Dawn -2. Which is not a big deal. You get those Dawn back the next turn. And then on your opponent's attack, you can Dawn -1 and cycle a card. So you'll draw 1, discard 1. Which is really good. For 8, it's an amazing card. Healing 1 on your 4th turn is just good. 7 cost Linlin. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Every time you play this card, no matter what deck it is, it puts the other person in a bad spot. It is such a good card. And it's from a starter deck. You can find those starter decks for about $40 right now. I got one for $40 over the weekend, and these spiked up to $20 a piece. You'll also get 2 of the Brûlé blockers. So you're saving about $15 if you really think about it, buying the starter deck, and you get all the other cards in there, just in case those, for some reason, spike up. I don't see them going anywhere, since we already have a big mom deck in the meta that's extremely strong. But it's always good just to buy the starter deck over the singles if the price is worth it. And currently, with ST7, it is. Our next deck, I believe this is the 4th one or 3rd one, is Monkey D. Luffy from Starter Deck 13, which, by the way, releases Friday. Obviously, EB01, or ST13 isn't even out. We're talking about EB01. But Black Yellow Luffy does get a massive buff in EB01. It gets more ways to trash life and more ways to do weird face-up stuff. So you can save your face-up life that you misplayed with somehow with Viola, or you can just do weird stuff. You can screw with your opponent's life, or you can flip all your face-up life. This is better in the Ace deck and the Sabo deck, but it is still also strong in this deck. It's not the strongest deck and card in the deck, and it does not see much play, but it can see play if you really want to flip this life over. Then we have Charlotte Flampe. This is basically what Makinos does for the deck, except you draw a card instead of rearranging your life. It's arguably better, but arguably worse. It just depends on the situation. It's also a 2K counter. I think this needs to be a 4 of once EB01 comes out in every Black Yellow Luffy deck along with a Makino, because you have 8 ways to trash life cards. And if you're running the Ivankov blocker from the SC13, it's also amazing. But those are the 2 cards that EB01 gave us for the deck. These are the cards that you need to buy. And if you're wanting to run a strong Black Yellow Luffy deck, you need to grab these cards ASAP. Sabo is rising really quickly. A week ago, I bought my playset for $50, not even $50. They were 12 pop. I got them for 45. And then the Gecko Moris are staying about the same. But once more time goes on with the Gecko Mori, it'll just start slowly increasing. And I think that it can get up to a 30 draw card very quickly, probably just a set away from now. And currently, Sabo, also, I've said rising quickly. It's the best blocker in the game. It is anti-black. It literally shuts off every black deck, as you can't KO anything when you play it, and you're filling up your trash in every black deck, basically. So when you play it, you're filling up your trash and seeing 2 more cards. I think it's just super strong, and everyone needs to be running it. If you're running a black deck, you need 4 of. You need to get this playset now before it gets too expensive like Borsalino blocker. Our next deck is Green Uta from ST11. There's more film support, and the Sanji, it just, for some reason, it makes the deck click. I don't know why. Just having another good attacker that is in the film package that you can draw is amazing, and the possible Bluno, not everyone runs this. I've seen some lists with it. Since it's a 2-cost blocker, it really it's not that great. It's 2 cost, 2,000 power. It can be bottom decked by red, purple, law. It can be KO'd by black. It can be rested by yellow and green. It's okay, and not many people are using it. But the Sanji having another 2K counter and a great attacker is just amazing for only 4 Dawn. You can also play this out from the Luffy effect, which, by the way, great. It's a strike attribute, so you can't play for Mihawk, but you'll be able to play it off the Luffy effect because it's a straw hat in a film. And then having that Dawn times 1 possible plus 3K power, swinging 8. After you've used your 9 Dawn, that's very strong. You could technically go 7 cost Luffy, play out all your cards, and then a 2 cost Bluno, and then fill your last spot on swing. If that spot is already filled with Sanji on your board, you Dawn times 1, and then you attack for 8K. That's really strong. I just think it's an amazing card, and it's also a 2K counter if you don't want to use it as an attacker, and it can be drawn off of lead effect and searched out through New Genesis, which is amazing. We love drawing cards. Here are the expensive cards. The issue with green right now is that there's older cards like the 8 cost kid that are almost for sure of in every green deck, which is an issue because it's almost $40 a piece. That means you're spending $160 on a playset when you shouldn't be. That's a lot of money to put into a card on a somewhat meta deck that's not too great. If you can trade for these, it's amazing. But buying them, it's not that terrible, but it's also expensive. So it's a needed 4 of almost in every Uta deck. So if you're looking to run Uta at a high play top tier, if you want to talk about a deck tournament or something, you need these 8 cost kids. It is what keeps you alive and what keeps you winning games. Another card that keeps you winning games is Nami. More card draw is amazing. It basically says pay 4, play 5 cost body, and search. And when attacking, you can also search for just paying 1 Dawn. It's such a good effect. It draws cards. It is New Genesis, but you don't untap, which is amazing. Turn 2 going second, you can draw a card and develop a 5K body. That is really good. I don't see why any Uta deck is not playing a 4 of this unless you just haven't had the means to buy it, since it is also a $25 card. Spending $100 on a playset is kind of risky. So that's the issue with Uta at the moment. These 2 cards. Otherwise, the deck is super cheap and super fun to play. You can spend under $100 and have an amazing deck that is competitively viable enough at locals and some small, big, semi-big tournaments, but nothing like a regional that'll top. You need to run the top 2 decks there. But hopefully in EB01 and OP07, as we see more green support, I think that this will be a top tier deck along with all the other decks that I've mentioned. So lastly, we have OP05 and L. OP05 and L gets more support with the Raigo event, which basically says KO a character, because it literally does. You KO up to one of your opponent's characters, no matter how big, for 6. So you can kill a 10 cost or an 8 cost or some 8 cost kid or something on their field when you're at 1 life, and then you still have 4 Dawn to work with. That makes this extremely, extremely, extremely strong. Then you have a good trigger. It's a Yamato trigger, 9 cost Yamato trigger, where you get to KO something equal to you and your opponent's life cards combined. Also a very good trigger. You can throw that up in with Hiyori if you're running it, and it just makes this deck even stronger. Which, if you didn't understand what I was saying at the beginning of the video, this and Red Purple Law are 2 of the best decks, probably top 3, if not top 5, in OP07. So buying these cards now is probably the best thing that you can do. And those cards are actually 7 cost Inland, just like the other deck. You need this card in almost every yellow deck that wants to gain life. If you're not gaining life in a yellow deck, you're running Hiyori and playing weird triggers. So if you're not doing that with Yamato or something, you're running 7 cost Linlin, and you should be running 7 cost Linlin. It's such a strong card because it just always puts your opponent in an overthinking bad situation where you get in their head by just playing this card and them having to think about crashing a life or taking or giving you life. It puts them in a bad spot every single time unless they're way ahead. Then you probably shouldn't be playing this, and you should be doing whatever else you can do to heal. And you have your 9 cost Yamato. This obviously it KOs a body that is equal to your life cards and your opponent's life cards. That's just strong. And then if you're at 1 life, you get to heal, which happens a lot in an L. It's the best card in an L because as Yamatos come down, and then they just start swinging. Obviously, they can be removed by. Obviously, they can be removed by a red purple law with 2 raise maxes or a Gordon's, but that's not really that likely to happen when you're dropping 4 of these in a row. When you just keep healing it and you just don't die because they need 4 attacks to establish, and when you're KOing their bodies, it's not great. So, spending the however much it is, $100 on places these cards, you're really wanting the top tournaments with this deck in OP07, you need to be buying these cards. It's $100. Yes, I know you can buy an entire Green Uta deck without the kids and the Namis for under $100, and then you're only buying 8 cards for $100. But they're so viable, almost need them. And lastly, the one that crushes everyone's wallet currently in yellow, 8 cost Katakuri. You need 1 to 2 of these if you really want to play. You really want to play an L in OPS7. You need 1 to 2 of these. It is $60. But if you're wanting to top a tournament and you're wanting to really play well, you need this card. You don't need a play set. You don't even need 3. You don't need a play set. You don't even need 3. You just need 1 or 2 if you're really gonna run a competitive deck, because it comes up and it's just so strong. It's just such a good card to see. You just can't run away from it very well. And TCG Marketplace is just under $60, so now is the time to buy it before it spikes back up to 90 to 100 per. If you're not buying this card, you're probably playing a different deck because of how expensive Vanilla is going to be with all the big cost secret rares with Linlin and this and the Yamatos that are probably going to spike up to $10 to $15 a piece soon. That's why we're buying these cards now. OP07, I really believe that NL can be the best deck. It is a consistent yellow deck, with the fact that it does not die and it controls the board as well. That is hard to do in yellow. A consistent yellow deck that is not based off of RNG is kind of hard to do. That is why NL is so good. It's always been strong. It will always be strong. It's such a good leader skill to have. That is why I put NL on this list. And I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. I put a lot of time into this, figuring out which cards to put in here. I kind of already knew the cards, but to make this slideshow for you, to make it easily digestible. Yeah. So if y'all enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, join the Discord down below. Try to just join our community that we're trying to build here. And I hope to see y'all in the next one. And I hope that y'all enjoyed this and that this helps you go top tournaments and get your first cereal, as I'm also hunting to do. I'm excited for EB01. I'm excited for Sakazuki to finally be gone and not have to worry about black as much. Obviously, Gekomori is still there, but I'm running Black Yellow Luffy for a reason, because I hate black and I hate blue. So I'll see y'all later with some Black Yellow Luffy sim gameplay. Peace out. Enjoy y'all's day. Have a good life.